Her smirk told me everything I needed to know as she slid the transfer papers across my desk. Diana Sullivan had been waiting for this moment ever since I'd made her look unprepared at last month's quarterly review. Rain was pounding the windows, fitting soundtrack for what was about to be my professional execution. "Effective Monday, you're relocating to Industrial Park Branch," she announced, barely containing her satisfaction. "Packlight Crawford. I'm Austin Crawford, by the way. Friends call me Ace, a nickname that stuck from my Navy days 25 years ago. At 48, I'd spent the last 18 years climbing the ranks at Atlantic Financial Services, working my way up from teller to senior branch manager through nothing but hard work and treating customers right. Industrial Park Branch, the company joke, the place where careers went to die. That location closes in 30 days, I said, keeping my voice level while 20 pairs of eyes pretended not to watch from surrounding cubicles. Diana leaned in close. "Think of it as an opportunity to enhance your resume. Good luck." The room tilted slightly. This wasn't a transfer. It was an execution. The real reason sat between us, unspoken but obvious to everyone who'd attended that quarterly review. I'd questioned Diana's decision to abandon our blue-collar customers in favor of chasing high-net-worth clients. I'd brought data, projections, historical precedent. I'd made her look unprepared in front of the executive team, and now I was paying for it. "Branch manager officially leaves tomorrow. You take over Monday morning," she continued, already walking away. "I've copied HR. Transfer is non-negotiable." Rain soaked through my clothes as I stood at the bus stop that evening. 18 years of 60-hour weeks, sacrificed weekends, postponed vacations, all erased with a single signature. My phone buzzed with messages from colleagues, some offering condolences, others keeping strategic distance from the newly condemned. Monday arrived with cruel sunshine. Industrial Park Branch sat in an aging strip mall between a vacant storefront and a discount tire shop. The sign letters had faded to pale blue, barely visible against the cloudy sky. Inside, the carpet was worn to threads in high-traffic areas, and desktop computers looked like museum pieces. 5 employees looked up when I entered, their expressions mixing confusion and pity. Nobody had bothered telling them a new manager was coming to oversee their final month. "I'm Austin Crawford," I said, placing my single box of belongings on the nearest desk. "Apparently, I'm your new manager." A woman with gray-streaked hair and tired eyes approached. "I'm Barbara Wilson. Everyone calls me Barb. Been assistant branch manager for 19 years. Didn't know they were sending someone new. Waste of your time, honestly." She gestured toward a small office with glass walls. "That's yours, I guess, for whatever it's worth." The manager's office held nothing but outdated training manuals and empty filing cabinets. Thick dust covered everything. On the desk corner sat a stack of customer exit surveys, most expressing regret over the branch closure. By lunchtime, I understood the complete picture. This branch had been systematically strangled, technology requests denied for years, marketing materials outdated, customer outreach budget eliminated 18 months ago. Yet somehow, this team of 5 was still serving nearly 200 loyal customers who refused to change branches despite headquarters' best efforts to push them out. "Most of our customers are from the immigrant community or retirees who've banked here for decades," Barb explained, handing me performance reports that headquarters had apparently ignored. Diana made it clear 3 years ago that these weren't the right type of customers anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. This wasn't right. Diana had sent me here to fail, to quietly process paperwork until the branch closed, adding a humiliating final note to my employment record. I pulled out the local area map I'd taken from the branch. Something about the location kept nagging at me. The commercial zone looked different from what I remembered. I opened my laptop and checked the city development website. It clicked. Industrial Park Branch sat exactly 4 blocks from Harbor Point Business District, the city's massive redevelopment project that had transformed abandoned warehouses into the fastest-growing small business incubator in the region. Over 225 new business startups had moved in during the past year alone, with hundreds more expected. And we had a branch, the only financial institution within walking distance. I dug deeper. Headquarters had commissioned a regional market analysis last year, but focused only on high-wealth residential areas. They'd completely missed the commercial transformation happening right beside our dying branch. My heart started racing as I connected more dots. Industrial Park branch had something no other branch had: direct access to hundreds of new businesses that needed financial services. At 5:30 a.m., I was waiting when Barb arrived to open the branch. "I need to understand something," I said, pointing to my map. "How many of these new businesses have accounts with us?" "None," she replied. "We tried telling headquarters about the redevelopment, but they cut our business development position 2 years ago. Said we should focus on orderly closure instead." The pieces were falling into place. This wasn't just about my career anymore. This was about 5 people losing their jobs because executives were too arrogant to see opportunities staring them in the face. "What would you say if I told you we have 30 days to save this branch?" Barb laughed, a short, bitter sound. "I'd say you're either nuts or you don't know how this company works." "Maybe both," I admitted, "but I'm not going down without trying. Let me tell you about the rest of my team. Besides Barb, there was Roland Martinez, everyone called him Raleigh, the senior teller who'd worked there 26 years. Lucas Anderson, Luke to friends, the customer service rep studying for his MBA at night. Patricia Morgan, Patty, the loan officer who knew every small business owner in the old neighborhood. And George Kim, Georgie, who handled account openings and closings. "Headquarters has written us off," Patty said, arms crossed. "I've submitted business projections about Harbor Point 3 times. They don't even respond anymore." I pulled out my laptop and showed them the research I'd done overnight. "The company doesn't see what we have here, but that doesn't mean we can't show them." "Show them what exactly?" Luke asked. "That we can get a few new accounts before they lock the doors? They've already told customers we're closing." "What if we could get 47 new business accounts in 30 days?" I challenged. "What if we could show revenue potential that's 10 times what this branch currently produces?" Raleigh shook his head. "Even if we could, Diana would never admit she was wrong. She's been dismantling branches like ours since she arrived. I'm not trying to convince Diana," I explained. "I'm going over her head straight to the executive committee." Georgie, who hadn't spoken until now, leaned forward. "How?" "By doing exactly what this branch was always meant to do: serve this community." Only now the community has changed, and nobody bothered to notice. That day, we took inventory of what we had: 5 committed employees, an outdated branch, and 30 days before closure. Company systems showed we had 0 budget for marketing, 0 allocation for community outreach, and 0 expectations for anything but an orderly shutdown. "First, we need to understand what these new businesses actually need," I said, spreading a map across the break room table. "Patty, you have experience with small business accounts. What would attract these startups?" Patty considered this. Quick approval processes, flexible terms for new ventures, and someone who understands their specific industry challenges, which is exactly what our premium direction doesn't offer. "They need banking that comes to them instead of making them jump through hoops," Barb added. I nodded. "We need to meet these businesses where they are, literally." My plan was simple but risky. While headquarters thought we were processing closing paperwork, we would transform the branch into a business development hub focused exclusively on Harbor Point startups. Like planning a mission, we'd run the operation under their radar. "This is career suicide," Raleigh warned, though I noticed a spark of interest in his eyes. "Diana will crush any successful initiative from this branch." "Probably," I agreed, "but I'm already dead in this company. We all are. So we might as well go down fighting." Georgie spoke up. "I have contacts at the Harbor Point Management Office. My cousin works in their administration." Luke pulled out his phone. 3 of my business school classmates are in startups there. They've been complaining about having to drive across town for banking services. By end of day, we had divided responsibilities. Patty and I would develop tailored financial packages for startups. Luke and Georgie would handle outreach and relationship building. Raleigh and Barb would manage existing customers while training all of us on quick approval protocols. Everyone had each other's 6. The next morning, we arrived an hour early. I'd spent the night creating presentation materials on my personal laptop since our branch computers couldn't run current software. We transformed the branch's dusty conference room into a strategy center with maps, target lists, and service matrices taped to the walls. "If headquarters asks, we're organizing customer transition files," I instructed. "Everything else stays between us." By noon, Georgie had secured us an invitation to a Harbor Point networking event that weekend. By Tuesday, Patty had drafted specialized offering sheets for tech startups, service businesses, and manufacturing ventures. Luke organized current customers into a referral network, incentivizing them with special rates to introduce new businesses. Our first obstacle appeared Wednesday morning, an email from Diana. All Industrial Park branch staff are required to attend closure training sessions downtown, effective immediately. Daily sessions 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. for the next 2 weeks. This would kill our outreach efforts. The team looked to me, panic evident. "She knows," Raleigh muttered. Someone tipped her off. I considered our options. "Barb and I will attend. The rest of you develop technology issues that require you to remain at the branch. If anyone questions it, you're helping customers transition their accounts." The training sessions were soul-crushing exercises in corporate doublespeak. Customer relationship transitions meant teaching clients to use ATMs instead of tellers. Career development opportunities meant applying for positions at other branches that didn't exist. Diana made a point of acknowledging me on the first day. "Settling in at Industrial Park, Crawford? I trust you're finding it educational." The satisfaction in her voice just made me more determined. Meanwhile, our team was making progress. Patty had made contact with 16 businesses and scheduled appointments. Georgie and his cousin had arranged for us to set up an information table at Harbor Point's monthly merchant meeting. Luke had convinced his professors to bring a business class to our branch for a real-world banking workshop. Our second obstacle arrived Friday morning. The company system showed all our cash handling limits had been restricted and loan approval thresholds reduced to almost nothing. "This is standard closing procedure," Barb explained. "But they've accelerated it. We're essentially functioning as a customer service desk now, not a full branch. I called an emergency meeting. They're trying to choke us without officially interfering. We need to adapt." "I know someone in the downtown branch," Luke offered. "She might process applications for us under their authority. And my old manager at North Branch still takes my calls," Patty added. "He might sign off on initial approvals." We reorganized our approach. Instead of processing applications at our branch, we would serve as the relationship front end with paperwork flowing through sympathetic colleagues at other locations. It was cumbersome but functional. We'd run a distributed operation. By end of week 1, we had opened accounts for 7 Harbor Point businesses. Small victories, but momentum was building. Word was spreading through the entrepreneurial community about the branch that comes to you. Our makeshift mobile service where Patty and Georgie would actually visit startups to process paperwork. Then came our third and most serious obstacle. Monday morning of week 2, I arrived to find an IT technician removing our computers. "System upgrade," he explained vaguely. "Orders from regional office." By noon, our internet connection had been accidentally disconnected. Our phone system developed maintenance issues. We were effectively cut off from company systems. "This isn't coincidence," Barb said as we gathered in the now empty conference room. "Diana's figured out what we're doing." The team's energy deflated. Without systems access, we couldn't process any new accounts or service existing ones. "That's it then," Raleigh sighed. "We gave it a good shot." I felt the weight of responsibility. I had given these people false hope, convinced them to risk their final employment days on an impossible mission. Now they would have nothing to show for it except possibly negative references from a vindictive executive. We sat in defeated silence until Georgie spoke up. "My cousin says Harbor Point has unused office space with internet connection. What if we relocated our outreach efforts there?" "Without company systems?" Patty questioned. "What if we created paper applications?" Luke suggested. "Old school. We collect all the information, documentation, signatures, everything needed, then process it all when systems access is restored." The energy in the room shifted. You could see it in their faces. We weren't giving up. "Or," I added, "what if we brought the completed paperwork to other branches for processing, split it between multiple locations so no single manager bears the full risk of helping us?" Patty smiled for the first time since I'd met her. "I know at least 3 branch managers who hate Diana as much as we do." By Wednesday, we had established a guerrilla operation. Mornings were spent at Industrial Park branch maintaining appearances and serving existing customers with manual workarounds. Afternoons, we rotated through Harbor Point in pairs, working from a borrowed office with pop-up financial services handwritten on the door. Word spread through the startup community about the branch that wouldn't die. Financial professionals willing to understand their unique needs when the corporate structure had abandoned them. We began attracting attention not just from small startups, but from established Harbor Point businesses frustrated with their current financial institutions. We submitted 22 new account applications yesterday, Patty reported during our morning meeting, processed through 4 different branches. And I have 31 businesses confirmed for tomorrow's workshop, Luke added. The Harbor Point Management Office asked if we could set up a permanent satellite location in their main building. They're willing to provide space rent-free for 6 months. For the first time, I allowed myself to believe we might actually succeed. The numbers were solid. In just 2 weeks, we had generated more new business accounts than the branch had acquired in the previous year. The potential revenue from these relationships, especially as these startups grew, was substantial. But Diana wasn't finished with us. Friday morning, I received an email that made my stomach drop. Effective immediately, Industrial Park branch closure date is moved up. All operations cease Monday. Staff termination processing will begin Tuesday. Required branch inventory Sunday, 9:00 a.m. Your attendance is mandatory. I stared at my phone. We had just lost 2 crucial weeks. All our momentum, all our planning cut short by a vindictive executive who somehow knew exactly what we were doing. The team's reaction was predictable: shock, anger, resignation. She won again, Rowley said, shaking his head. Just like with the East Branch and the airport location. Barb placed a hand on my shoulder. You tried, Austin. That's more than anyone else did for us. I looked around at these people who had trusted me, who had worked incredible hours on nothing but faith in my plan. I couldn't let them down. Sunday inventory, I repeated slowly. That gives us approximately 48 hours. For what? Patty asked. It's over. No, I said. It's just changing form. If we only have until Sunday, then Sunday becomes our deadline to present our case. To who? Luke asked. Diana's the one closing us down, and she's made it clear she won't listen. Not to Diana, I said, pulling out my phone. To the executive committee. They meet Monday morning to review quarterly performance. Diana was supposed to present the successful branch consolidation strategy as part of her report. The committee won't see us, Barb objected. Believe me, I've tried reaching them before. They won't have to see us, I explained. They'll see our results. I pulled up the company organizational chart I'd downloaded months ago. Catherine Stevens, Chief Financial Officer. Her nephew owns a tech startup in Harbor Point. Amanda Rodriguez, Operations Director. She's been pushing for small business expansion for years. Terrence Washington, Chief Marketing Officer. He was publicly criticized last quarter for the company's retreat from diverse communities. Understanding dawned on their faces. You're building an alliance, Patty said. No. We're building irrefutable proof that Diana's strategy is flawed and that she deliberately sabotaged a profitable opportunity. But we have less than 48 hours to make it happen. The energy in the room shifted. You could feel the determination kicking in. How many accounts do we need to make this undeniable? Barb asked. I did quick calculations. At our current conversion rate, 47 new business accounts would project to over $2.1 million in first-year revenue. That's 10 times what headquarters forecasted for this branch's final year. No executive could ignore that discrepancy. We have 29 confirmed, Patty reported. Need 18 more by Sunday. We'll need documentation, Luke pointed out. Irrefutable evidence of everything. The accounts, the projections, the interference from Diana. And we need to present it in a way they can't ignore, I added. Georgie stepped forward. My cousin says Harbor Point is hosting a press event Sunday afternoon. The mayor will be there to announce new infrastructure improvements. All the local business leaders will attend. Perfect. If we could secure enough accounts, document our case thoroughly, and create a public moment too significant to ignore, we might just pull off a miracle. But as we dispersed to execute our final push, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Diana knows everything. Board meeting moved up to Sunday night. Your branch records are being audited now. Be careful. I showed the message to Barb. We have a bigger problem than we thought. The board meeting has been moved up to Sunday night. That can't be coincidence, Patty said, looking over her shoulder. Sunday inventory followed immediately by a Sunday night board meeting. Diana's going to present the branch closure as already completed, I concluded. Done deal before anyone can question it. We were running out of time, and Diana was actively monitoring our activities. We need to go off-grid, I decided. Nothing through company channels, no company devices, no company locations. Within an hour, we had relocated our operation to the back room of Marina's Cafe, a small business across from Harbor Point owned by one of Raleigh's longtime customers. Marina cleared space, provided coffee, and promised discretion. My father couldn't get a business loan for 10 years until your branch helped him, she told Raleigh. Use whatever you need. We divided into teams. Patty and Georgie would continue direct business outreach. Luke would compile our performance data and projections. Raleigh would coordinate with sympathetic branch managers to process paperwork. Barb would prepare the presentation materials. I had the most delicate task, reaching out to potential allies on the executive committee without alerting Diana. Catherine Stevens plays golf every Saturday morning at Hillcrest, Barb informed me. She's usually done by 10:30 and has coffee on the terrace. How do you know that? I asked. I've worked here 19 years, she replied with a small smile. You learn things about executives when they think you're invisible. Saturday morning found me sitting at Hillcrest Country Club's terrace, nursing an overpriced coffee and rehearsing my approach. When Catherine Stevens emerged from the clubhouse, I recognized her immediately from company events. Tall, silver-haired, perpetually serious. I waited until she had settled at a table before approaching. Ms. Stevens, I'm Austin Crawford, Industrial Park Branch Manager. Her expression shifted from annoyance to confusion. Industrial Park? Isn't that closing? That's what I needed to discuss with you, ma'am. It concerns your nephew's business in Harbor Point. That caught her attention. Jordan's startup? What about it? He's one of 37 businesses we've signed in the past 2 weeks. Businesses that now have no local branch to serve them since our closure date was suddenly accelerated. Stevens' eyes narrowed. Sit down, Crawford. For 20 minutes, I laid out our discovery about Harbor Point's potential, our guerrilla campaign to serve these businesses, and the systematic obstacles we'd encountered. I presented preliminary numbers showing projected revenue that far exceeded the branch's previous performance. Why am I just hearing about this now? Stevens demanded. Because Diana Sullivan has been actively suppressing this information while fast-tracking our closure, I answered, sliding across copies of our rejected market analysis and system access revocation notices. Stevens studied the documents, her expression darkening. These projections are substantial but without official company records. We've maintained independent documentation of everything, I assured her, and we have confirmation from over 30 businesses willing to verify their interest. Stevens was silent for a long moment. The board meeting has indeed been moved to Sunday evening. Diana has requested expedited approval for her branch consolidation strategy. Can you delay the vote? I asked. Not without cause. I'd need more than projections. I'd need proof that this opportunity is real and substantial. She checked her watch. I need to go. As she stood, I played my final card. The mayor is announcing new infrastructure investments for Harbor Point tomorrow afternoon. The press will be there. So will the business owners we've been working with, all talking about how our branch has been the only financial institution actively supporting their growth. Stevens paused. What time is this announcement? 3:00 p.m. Harbor Point Plaza. I make no promises, Crawford. I returned to Marina's where the team had been working through the night. The cafe tables were covered with paperwork, laptops, and empty coffee cups. Everyone looked exhausted but determined. We've reached 43 confirmed accounts, Patty reported. Need 4 more to hit our target. The presentation is ready, Barb added. All the documentation is organized. I've created projections showing 5-year growth potential, Luke said. The numbers are conservative but still impressive. We had our ammunition. Now we just needed to deliver it at exactly the right moment. Sunday was going to determine everything. At 2:45 p.m. Sunday, we arrived at Harbor Point Plaza, where a crowd had already gathered. Local news cameras were setting up near a small stage. The mayor and other officials were chatting with business owners. And standing at the edge of the gathering, looking distinctly uncomfortable, was Catherine Stevens, along with 2 other members of the executive committee. They came, Barb whispered, gripping my arm. But where's Diana? She'll be here, I assured her, though uncertainty gnawed at me. If Diana chose not to appear, our public confrontation strategy would collapse. At precisely 3:00, the mayor approached the microphone to announce a $50 million infrastructure investment in Harbor Point. As she spoke about economic growth and business development, I scanned the crowd anxiously. Then I spotted her, Diana, standing near the executive committee members, speaking urgently into one's ear. The mayor concluded her remarks and introduced the Harbor Point Business Association president, who began acknowledging key partners in the district's success. And we'd especially like to recognize the extraordinary team from Industrial Park branch of Atlantic Financial Services, who have become vital partners to over 40 businesses here in just the past 3 weeks. Applause erupted as he gestured toward our team. Diana's head snapped up in shock. In fact, the association president continued, "I'm told they've single-handedly demonstrated the viability of financial services in our district, generating impressive projections that have caught the attention of their corporate leadership." Stevens stepped forward, whispering something to the association president, who nodded and yielded the microphone. "Good afternoon," Stevens began. "As Chief Financial Officer, I'm always interested in growth opportunities. What I've learned about the work happening here is illuminating, particularly since our current strategy explicitly deprioritized these markets." That was my cue. I approached the stage, portfolio in hand. "Ms. Stevens, we've prepared complete documentation of our findings," I said, voice steady despite my racing heart. 47 new business accounts established, projected first-year revenue exceeding $2.1 million, growth potential analysis for the next 5 years. I handed her the portfolio, including detailed records of the systematic obstruction we encountered while developing these relationships. Stevens accepted the portfolio, opening it to review its contents while the crowd watched in silence. Diana stepped forward, face twisted with anger. "This is completely unauthorized," she hissed. "These people have been operating outside company protocols after being explicitly instructed to process an orderly branch closure." Stevens looked up from the documents. "Is that true, Crawford? Did you disobey direct instructions regarding branch closure?" This was the moment everything hinged on. I took a deep breath. "Yes, ma'am, I did, because those instructions contradicted our company's stated mission to serve communities and support business growth. When we discovered the Harbor Point opportunity, we had a choice: blindly follow a flawed strategy or demonstrate a better alternative." I gestured to the business owners in the crowd. "These aren't just accounts. They're partnerships that will grow with the right support. They represent the future of banking in this community." For the next 15 minutes, business owners approached the microphone, describing how our team had created tailored solutions for their needs when other institutions wouldn't. With each testimony, Diana's position visibly weakened. Finally, Stevens addressed the crowd. "On behalf of Atlantic Financial Services, I want to thank the Industrial Park team for their initiative. Rest assured, their work has not gone unnoticed." She turned to me. "Crawford, the executive committee will review your findings thoroughly at tonight's meeting. I believe we may need to reconsider certain strategic decisions." As the event concluded, Diana cornered me away from the crowd. "You've made a serious mistake," she warned, voice low and dangerous. "This little publicity stunt doesn't change anything. I still determine your future with this company." I smiled calmly. "Actually, Diana, you don't. Because I don't have a future with this company. I resigned this morning." Her expression shifted to confusion, then triumph. "So this was all for nothing? You quit anyway?" "Not for nothing," I corrected her. "I accepted a position as Harbor Point's first director of financial development, working directly with these same businesses to establish a community development financial institution. The mayor offered the position yesterday. I handed her a business card with my new title. And our first initiative will be establishing banking partnerships with institutions that actually value these clients. Catherine Stevens has already expressed interest in discussing how Atlantic Financial might participate under new regional leadership." The color drained from Diana's face as understanding dawned. "You set me up." "No, Diana. You did that yourself when you tried to bury opportunity for the sake of your ego. I just made sure everyone could see what you were doing." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and the file I gave Stevens includes documentation of how you manipulated performance metrics to justify closing branches in predominantly minority neighborhoods, including moving high-value accounts to other branches right before evaluation periods. The board might find that particularly interesting given the discrimination lawsuit the company settled last year." 3 hours later, My team and I sat in Marina's cafe watching breaking news on her small television. The reporter announced a shakeup in regional leadership at Atlantic Financial Services, with Diana Sullivan being placed on administrative leave pending review. "I still can't believe it worked," Raleigh said, raising his coffee cup in a toast. "I can't believe you resigned before knowing if it would work," Barb added, looking at me with newfound respect. I smiled. I realized something important during these 3 weeks. Success isn't about winning within a broken system. It's about building something better. As we celebrated, my phone buzzed with a message from Catherine Stevens. Executive Committee unanimously voted to establish permanent Harbor Point location. Position of District Director open immediately. Interested? I showed the message to my team. Their expressions asked the question before they could speak it. "Don't worry," I assured them. "I already replied that I'll only consider it if I can bring my own team. All of you." Luke grinned. "From fired to hired in the same day. Not bad." "Not bad at all," I agreed, thinking about the journey we'd traveled in just 30 days. From a branch destined for closure to the company's most promising new venture. You know what I learned? Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your opponent. It's about proving them wrong in ways they can never undo. Diana tried to bury me in a dead-end branch, but she handed me the exact opportunity I needed to show what real leadership looks like. The irony? She could have taken credit for discovering the Harbor Point opportunity herself. Instead, her need to punish me for questioning her strategy cost her everything. 3 months later, our Harbor Point branch became the top-performing location in the region. Diana's replacement reached out personally to ask how we did it. Turns out, when you actually listen to your community and treat people with respect, amazing things happen. My team? Every one of them got promoted. Barb became Assistant District Director. Patty heads our Small Business Development Program. Luke finished his MBA and runs our Startup Services Division. Raleigh trains new managers in Customer Service Excellence. Georgie manages our Community Outreach initiatives. And me? I'm exactly where I belong, serving people who need banking services, not just people who already have money. Diana thought she was ending my career. Instead, she helped me find my purpose. Sometimes the branches that seem dead are just waiting for the right moment to bloom again. And when they do, the people who tried to cut them down have to watch them grow stronger than ever. That's a lesson worth remembering.